Good evening, class. My name is Charles Hodge, and today I will be presenting my thematic cross-curricular unit plan. The subject of this unit plan will be the Civil War, again, across the content areas of language arts, fine arts, mathematics, and of course social studies. I plan on being a social studies teacher once I earn my certification, and believe that this thematic unit will help students have a greater respect and learn more about the Civil War, the underlying causes of the Civil War, and the main issues that were vital to the Civil War. I'll go over the cluster chart. The cluster chart, it of course starts with the Civil War, North and South. Then it moves on to the subtopics under the Civil War, which were the fine art, the subjects we will attack in this unit: fine arts, mathematics, history, social studies, language arts. Under those topics, we will have the subtopics of symbolism of historical arts, statistical analysis of casualties and slaves, compare and contrast abolition and pro-slavery, and finding philanthropy in literature, mainly in Uncle Tom's Cabin. From those particular subtopics, we will develop objectives, which for the fine arts objective, we will look for social and political overtones or issues that are portrayed in two portraits. One portrait, the tragic prelude of John Brown, and as well as the last moments of John Brown. The student's main objective will be to identify political and social issues that were relevant to the portrait. They will also think about their own feelings about the portrait. They'll discuss this. They will critically think about what is going on in the portrait. The objective for the mathematics would be for the students to analyze numbers, the statistics of Confederate soldiers that were killed in the battles of Bull Run and the battles of Atlanta. Compare those numbers to slaves that were in the North and the South. They will develop a bar graph or a line graph to portray those numbers. The objective for social studies would be for the students to review an excerpt from the Lincoln-Douglas debate, and they would basically develop a debate. The product at the end of this that particular objective would be for the students to develop a debate similar to the Lincoln-Douglas debate and take a stance on slave rights and slavery. They would take a stance either or, to be pro-slavery or to be anti-slavery, which would be more rights to the federal government than the state government. The language arts objective would be to find philanthropy in literature, mainly in Uncle Tom's Cabin. Their objective would be they would all read Uncle Tom's Cabin, and they would identify what philanthropy means to them personally, and identify different acts of philanthropy within the novels. They'll also give suggestions of novels, past and future, that show philanthropy in text. And I will use the Bloom's questions to help the students gain more of a critical thinking sense, to use their multiple intelligences. They will analyze, comprehend, apply, use their background knowledge, synthesize, and evaluate the objectives, and develop higher level thinking questions. The question that I would ask the student to do is, what was the underlying theme of the portraits, The Last Moment of John Brown and The Tragic Prelude of John Brown? Now, I would encourage the students to think about what was going on during that time period and analyze why these portraits, why the person that painted these portraits painted the portrait. What was their reasoning? Another example, evaluation. I would ask the students, did they believe the Civil War was more about states' rights or slavery? And I would ask them to verify and find information to support their opinion. Now this will be great for them developing their debate. This will help them develop supporting details for their debate to make their debate more effective. I believe that these Bloom's questions will help the students do better on their activities and have a better sense of understanding of what was going on during the Civil War. I think that the Bloom's questions would be a great activity for the students within this unit plan. For the board game, I completed a game. It's called The Road to Ohio, the Underground Railroad game. And basically it includes all of the states that are in the southeastern part of the United States here. 3 students can play, and the students will either start out in Tennessee, Georgia, or South Carolina. Right there. The students will roll 1 dice, and they have different things on each space that they would do. If they roll to a space that has a 1, they would move forward 2 spaces. 2 would lose a turn. 3 return to plantation. 4, they would move back 2 spaces. If they land on a space that has a freedom card, then they would follow the directions on the freedom card. For example, there, if you start here in Tennessee, if they roll a 1, they would draw a freedom card, and the freedom card would give them a message of what they would do. Now, their ultimate goal would be to obviously go to Ohio, which would be their freedom. I think this game would help the students obtain a better understanding of what a slave had to do to obtain their freedom. An example of one of the freedom cards would be this. It states that one of the people you are traveling with has contracted chloria, lose a turn. So if they hit a draw on this game, they actually see events that the slaves had to go through to get to the north. They actually experience some of the issues that they had to overcome. And they can pick one of the 3 families within the game. The 3 families have different situations that they have gone through within the plantation that they have lived through. They may have had a good life at the plantation, or they may have had a bad life at the plantation, and that is also factored into them getting to Ohio. I actually am planning on using this game. This game, I think, will be a very fun activity for students, enriching activity for students to learn more about the Civil War and the plight of the slave. The noted bibliography, the one point I wanted to hit on was the book that I read. I actually read this book, The Narrative of William Brown. I read this during my student teaching experience. It's about an African American who he escaped slavery and he became a major conductor on the Underground Railroad. And I believe that this trade book would be an excellent book to supplement everything that's going on within this unit plan. And I just think it would be a great trade book to use with this lesson. Thank you very much for your time, and that was my thematic unit plan. Everybody have a blessed day.